This is a microphone test. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Good evening. Welcome to the community meeting for Sunday, September 12th. To get started, we're going to start with our instant meteorologist, Eric Kurth.
Good evening. I'm incident meteorologist Eric Kurth. Well, we have a hot and dry trend that's been going ever since we had the rain last week. And that continued today. We made it to the upper 70s and even some upper 80s as well. Humidity levels dropped down into the teens. We're going to see more of that tomorrow. The big change is today we had some gusty west-southwest winds, 20 to 25 miles an hour. If you look at this chart over here, you can see we're going to be hot again, maybe even a little warmer than today. We're also going to be dry. Humidity levels are going to be down in the teens. The big difference is wind direction will be west-northwest, and this is not a north wind event. This is just a light west-northwest wind that's going to gust up to 14 miles an hour. So this is actually going to be quite a bit less than anything we'd really have any concern about, but it's a different direction, a little bit lighter wind. In terms of what we're looking at for the rest of the week, the winds are going to go back to that west-southwest pattern. We are going to keep heating up through midweek. Humidity levels are going to stay low as well. Now, if we look at the end of the week, temperatures are going to start to drop. We have what's called an upper level trough moving in. That's going to bring cooler air. It's also going to bring an increase in those southwesterly winds. As you can see, we'll be gusting up to around 26, 28 miles an hour and maybe 30 miles an hour by the weekend. But by the weekend, we're also going to be cooling, moistening up, and we might even see potentially a little precipitation. Stay tuned for more information on that. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. Next up, we're going to have our fire behavior analyst, Patrick Doyle.
Good evening, everyone. Patrick Doyle, fire behavior analyst for California Incident Management Team 1. So as you heard Eric say, since we had the rain, it's cooled things down. Well, one of the things it really did for this fire is it really moderated the existing fire behavior that was on the ground as there was being contained. One of the things is we've had this extreme drought that we've had for, pretty much this year, this really extreme low conditions, low fuel moistures, high ERCs or energy release component. Which has really allowed fire behavior to really be very active this summer. One of the things it's done too is it's made it very resistant to control. So when we got that burst of moisture last Friday, one of the things it did is it raised the fuel moisture in those fine dead fuels. Well, one of the things is the fine dead fuels are the primary carrier for connecting and spreading fire behavior. So one of the things that we saw was for most of the fire that's been active, it minimized a lot of the activity that we'd seen, except in some of the stump holes and larger fuels. So those bigger, larger diameter fuels, what they do is they will retain that very low fuel moisture, and that very low fuel moisture will allow them to hang on to the heat. It'll smolder until the moisture clears off, and then it'll start heating up. So one of the things you probably have seen over the last couple of days is an increase in smoke on the landscape. One of the things about that is even the stump holes, they're going to hold over. That's going to increase a little bit as we go into this warming trend this week. The fine dead fuel moistures are actually coming way down, so we're actually seeing those start to increase as well. But a lot of the fuels that were there that were available have been consumed. So really it's going to be really more, the fire behavior you'll see is stump holes, some smoldering, some internal pockets. You might see smoke coming up from that. And as they, do more containment on the lines, they'll reduce that fire behavior near the edge. So one of the areas that we still, I have concerns for is for fire behaviors that has, that's going to be a potential, we have to just keep an eye on it, is the area pockets that it didn't burn is really hot and there's a lot of canopy cover. So the area by, let me get myself oriented here. by Devil's Punch Bowl on this side. That's got a lot of canopy cover. It had some heavier fuels in there. As it consumes some of those heavier fuels, it'll become less active. And then let me put it this way. When you reduce those fuels that are available, that's when you actually have a reduction in the fire activity. So a lot of times the smokes go away when they consume the fuels that are available. So as the residence time is there, you'll see less smoke. In some of the areas where it's on the east side pine areas, on the east side, they're pretty light there, so it's going to be pretty active. I mean, it'll consume in a shorter period of time. So you'll see less residence time. And with that, if you have any questions for me, please send them in, and I'd like to field your questions if you have any interest in that. All right, thank you.
Thank you for that excellent discussion, Patrick. And please do use your comment section for the question and answer, and we'll try to get through those. Next up, we're going to have a situational update from the West Zone, and we're going to have Chief Tony BRONNELL.
Hello, my name is Tony Brown, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 1, Deputy Operations for the Dixie Fire in the West Zone. Give you a quick little update. So on Branch 1, 5, and 7, that's basically from Highway 70 through the High Lakes area into Butte Meadows. It's all looking good right now. We're in tactical patrol. We're having no issues in there at all. We're looking pretty solid. Moving into Branch 9, that's in Highway 32, 36, 89 area, Mill Creek. It's looking really good. We're starting to pull some of our hose out of there. We're feeling pretty secure about it, and we're in tactical patrol. No issues at all. Again, really solid. Branch 19, Branch 9, and going into 13, we're looking really good. There's an area down here called Raker Peak that's inside the park. That's the last little piece of line we have to tie in down there. But the rest from Raker Peak going up to 44, there's line on the entire fire right there on that side, and it's plumbed and we're being mopped up, and that's the area right below Old Station. So once that area line gets very secure, we're looking at opening up the evacuations in Old Station, but it's going to take a day or two. So be patient with us. Moving into Branch 15, the big finger up on top that ran out on Wednesday. There's line on the entire fire, and it's being mopped up. Yesterday we did have some slop overs and spot fires right at the switchbacks on 44, and also up on the right shoulder of the fire. All have been contained, but this thing is starting to wake up a little bit. It's because you're not seeing a lot of smoke up there. It doesn't mean there's any danger. It is going to wake up eventually, but we're getting in there and trying to mop it up so it doesn't come outside of containment lines. From 44 going down into Prospect Peak, it's being mopped up, it's plumbed, and it's being patrolled, and cleaning that up so that it doesn't come out towards 44 again. Moving into Branch 16, Q&R, we've been maintaining that even when that wind came in there. It was called what we call wind tested. The wind was blowing across our line. It held, no new spots out there. We're looking very good. And that area includes the Silver Lake area. No structure loss in Silver Lake area. It's looking very good. On the bottom section down there, we have some mop-ups still we need to take care of. We call dozer piles. When the dozer puts in the line, sometimes there's hot stuff in the pile and it keeps on popping back up. So we're breaking those piles up, making it safe so we can repopulate that area in there as soon as we can. From 44 down to A21 Road, we're looking really good. No issues in there. Still in patrol mop-up and tactical patrol. The Westwood area into Meadow Lakes in the Westwood, looking solid. No new issues in there. We still got some small smokes in there in the Meadow Valley dry lake bed. That's going to continue to be burned and popping back up continuously. It's just that type of fuel that's going to continue to do that. There's going to be a heavy presence in there starting tomorrow. You'll see some CAL FIRE Type 3 engines in there and some crews, and we're going to really hit that area really, really hard to get it all buttoned up, finally getting it done. Highway 36 corridor is looking good down in the Janesville area. We have a presence in Janesville. We'll maintain that presence until that 30,000 acre spot fire is completely contained. Milford is looking pretty solid down in there. So overall, we're making progress, but we're not turning our back. The same wants to try to keep on coming out, but we're going to continually hit it hard. Team 14 for California Interagency, Team 14 is coming in. They're taking over the fire tomorrow. We're rotating out. Good luck to them. Give them patience, give them cooperations, and we'll get this fire out and get you back in your homes and back to normal. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have our operational update from the East Zone, Mario Gomez.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mario Gomez. I'm one of the operations section chiefs on California Incident Management Team 1, and I will give you your evening update for the east zone of the Dixie fire. Today, we had two major areas of concern. The first being this little piece that you can see here by Taylorsville, and the other one was a section of line over by Dixie Mountain, and I'll get to that here shortly. But starting with the piece of line here over by Taylorsville and Devil's Punch Bowl. So yesterday we had two hotshot crews that were able to get access to that fire's edge. They went in there and went direct and put in a hand line along the side of that fire and were able to contain the spread to the west. Today they were in there reinforcing that hand line and mopping up any threats to the control line. And tomorrow that'll be put into a patrol status and they'll monitor it and address any issues if they arise. Coming up into what we're calling our Division Romeo, it's on Grizzly Ridge. Everything is looking good in here. The resources are reporting about 150 feet mopped up of our control line, and you're gonna see some additional black on the map tomorrow all the way to drop point 263, which is here on the map. Coming down into Lake Davis, the same thing goes for that. The resources are continuing to mop up 150 feet and work their way all the way down in and around Davis Lake, up to Turner Ridge, and then back down into the Coyote Hills area, which you can see here. Resources are continuing to patrol and mop up as necessary all the way to the Milford-Beckworth Road. And from the Milford-Beckworth Road out to the east, the 23rd Army Brigade Engineering Battalion is in there spread out all across this entire section of dozer line. And they're continuing to mop up, to secure the line. There was a couple of, heat signatures close to the line, and they went and addressed those today, and they'll be continuing to work that piece of line tomorrow. From Helispot 68 there up towards Dixie Mountain is a piece of hand line that is in a patrol status, and we had a couple people walk that today and check it and address that there was one smoke that was within 100 feet of the line. They dealt with it, and they were able to get out of there safely. It's a real steep and rugged, so they'll be patrolling that from up above tomorrow, taking a look down the hill to make sure nothing else pops up. As you can see here, this piece of black line on the eastern edge of the fire has bumped up against the Beckworth complex, and there hasn't been any movement in this section of fire here since the fire, joined the Beckworth complex about a week ago. Coming down into Division Papa, which is along the 395 corridor, resources are also in there engaged in patrolling and mopping up, trying to, get the 150-foot mop up on our control features. And that continued all the way around to Black Mountain and then back up along this dozer line that you can see here, all the way back to the Walker Fire Scar here on the map. So that operation will continue tomorrow. Resources are looking at 2 more shifts, and they think that'll be looking good, and we'll put that into a patrol status as well. Moving on down into the spot fire that we had a few weeks ago by Janesville. This fire, that you can see here by Janesville is being patrolled. Everything is secure, and we're backhauling hose and equipment off of there. Moving on over into the Fruit Growers Boulevard Road, all the way out to Dyer Mountain. Everything there is being patrolled, and they're pulling hose, and it's secure, no reported issues. Their resources are responding to calls for service that are well with interior, not any threats to our control line, and that'll continue until all the hose and equipment has been backhauled back to ICP. Coming down into Indian Valley, same thing, pulling hose, patrolling, responding to calls for service, no reported issues. Resources are still engaged in Taylorsville. And then coming down into Whiskey, X-ray, along the heel of the fire, back to Story. Resources are also pulling hose and backhauling any excess equipment and supplies. And that's the end of the report. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat and I'll reply. Thank you.
Thank you for that very thorough presentation, Mario. Next up, we're going to have Plumas Sheriff Johns.
Good evening. As you know, I'm Plumas County Sheriff Todd Johns. This weekend there were no changes made to any evacuation orders or warnings. And I want folks to go to community.zonehaven.com if you had questions on the evacuation orders or warnings, but there were no changes. Would like to talk about Dixie Valley for a moment. So we know that there's been no active fire there now for a few days. We know that our damage assessment teams are going in there and conducting evaluations on residences and structures that were damaged. And I am hoping that within the next couple of days we can get that open to residents. So I would ask that you continue to monitor our webpage for that. We'll work with the team here to have a discussion tomorrow morning on getting that open back up. And I can't make any guarantees, but we will work to get that open. Okay, so the last time I spoke to you, I made some indications that we had folks that were already being contacted by resources via the internet primarily, trying to give them assistance and basically getting scammed. I want to remind folks that this occurs a lot, especially after fires when there's a recovery process. So I just want to remind you to vet your sources. If you're asking for assistance from either the Office of Emergency Services or FEMA, make sure that the folks you are contacting actually work for OES and FEMA, so make sure that you're getting that information directly from their website and not off of independent source on the internet. And I've had folks that have contacted me and asked, you know, what do I do to make sure that I don't get scammed? If you feel that you're getting scammed, don't give them information. There's also nothing wrong with, especially with the folks from FEMA, they are meeting with people personally, to just meet with them. Ask them for their credentials and make sure that they are who they say that they are. Because they will be asking you for questions like your social security number, and they may ask you for routing numbers to your bank account, which normally we would recommend not doing, but in this case they do that so that they can direct deposit funds into your account. So again, I just want folks to be cognizant of that and make sure you're vetting that information. I want to remind folks that you know, it seems odd to be standing up here and not talking about evacuating places, and believe me, it's a great feeling. And as things are slowing down, and I hope they continue to slow down, I need to remind folks, you need to slow down when you're driving. We have more resources in this county right now than we've ever had. Fire crews, cleanup crews, tree crews, PG&E, water resources, OES, FEMA. There are so many people here, and people still want to keep driving like it's a normal Sunday or whatever day it is. You need to slow down. If you're on the Highway 70-89 corridor, I want to remind you there are rocks rolling into that road sometimes by the minute. Caltrans can go by and in 5 minutes later there's a slide in the road. So please be careful. Please slow down if you're traveling 70 and 89. Garbage status for Greenville and Taylorsville. We've been working with Waste Management. On Tuesday they're going to go back to their normal service. If for some reason you don't get service on Tuesday, and they do normally do that, I ask you to reach out to Waste Management and find out what happened there. But they're going to start back on Tuesday, and then they will go to a normal dump service on Friday and Saturday, and I'm told that they're going to see how that goes. If there's enough activity, then they'll keep the Friday and Saturday up and may add additional days. So again, garbage status for Greenville. We're going away from the dumpsters that everybody had been using, and we're going to go to the normal Friday and Saturday service at the dump, plus the Tuesday pickup. I want to ask folks to continue to support your community. I see folks every day. I still talk to folks every day. It is still devastating as time goes on. Yes, it gets a bit easier, but there's still a lot of folks that need a lot of things. They are still not certain what they're going to do. So we just need to continue to reach out for them. We need to pray for them. And myself and my staff are here for you. And we're going to continue to support this community well into the future. And again, I ask you to follow our website or our Facebook page for upcoming meetings and information, which we're going to be putting out almost on a daily basis. And with that, I want to turn the microphone over to Jerry SIPE from Environmental Health. He is working diligently with the cleanup process and wanted to throw out some information in regards to that. So Jerry.
Good evening. I wanted to give a little update on the debris removal process. Plumas County has established a debris removal center, and the phone number for that is 530-283-7080. We can also accept walk-in individuals at the Environmental Health Office, 270 County Hospital Road, number 127. That's the courthouse annex over by Feather River College. And you can also email us at roe@countyofplumas.com. And I've also heard a number of folks wondering about the two different cleanup programs that we will be sponsoring. One is the government program, or the ROE program, and there's also an alternate program. Now, the standards for those two programs will be the same, but unfortunately we don't have the details of either program established at this time. We're working to establish what those standards will be, and we'll be widely publicizing those through the sheriff's webpage and Facebook and all of the outreach, as well as through the County of Plumas webpage. So we appreciate your understanding on how quickly you want to get recovered, and Plumas County is right there behind you. We want to start the recovery process as quickly as we can, but we also want to be sure that it's done safely and effectively, and we'll be working to get those standards out as soon as possible. Thank you. Back to Kristen.
Thank you so much for those important messages. Next up, we're going to have a pre-recorded message from the LASSEN National Forest Supervisor, Deb Bumpus.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Deb Bumpus, the LASSEN National Forest Supervisor and Agency Administrator for the Dixie Fire. Welcome you to another Facebook Live session. And just to give you a little bit of update, we're going to probably be kind of changing our story a little bit as we go on out here. One thing that I want to cover is maybe give some explanation on all the different tactics that have been used in this fire and how that matches up with the weather. I won't be doing that tonight, but we will be transitioning into that. And I think it'll be very helpful for folks to just to understand how this has gotten as large as it has with the weather that we've had. It's been very challenging. So the other thing that I want to remind folks of is that the rain that we had the other day has been very helpful. We still have a closure in place for the fire perimeter, and we also have a closure for the remainder of the forest in the state of California. So even though things may be slowing down from a fire perspective, we still have closures in place, and we do not want folks out in the forest in areas that we can't get to you, or areas that may still have active fire or stumps that are burning that you could fall through and injure yourself. So please keep that in mind as we continue to wrap this up. Hopefully in the next few weeks we see a change, and we hope that it sticks with us. So again, if you have questions, need anything specific answered, make sure that you put that in the chat, and we'll respond to that as well as we can. So thank you all, and have a good night.
All right, next up we're going to have Ann CARLSON, Agency Administrator for the Plumas National Forest.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening and taking time out of your day to get this valuable information. As Kristen mentioned, I am the agency administrator for the PLUMAS National Forest, representing Chris Carlton, who's the forest supervisor. This fire is currently at 960,213 acres. It's a very large fire, and with that comes a lot of fire perimeter that's been mentioned today as part of the work that's being done along all around the fire here. We have about 800 miles of fire perimeter. As that gets more secured and you see it go from a red line to a black line, people are still working out there, making sure it's cooler. And with that, we start to see some of the evacuation orders lifted. You're able to come back in, it's safer, which is wonderful. I'm so happy for that, and I'm sorry for those of you that have lost homes out here. I know it's really hard. But we are optimistic about folks being able to come back in and check on their properties. In addition, we're going to be transitioning into doing more suppression repair. And what that means is when we've done the dozer lines, now we need to come back and repair them so that when the rains come, we don't get a lot of sediment runoff from them. So I just wanted to give you an idea for the entire fire area how much dozer line is out there. So I got an estimate tonight, so it's approximately 1,559 miles of dozer line and an additional 90 miles of hand line. That's a lot of miles to repair, but we're really happy to be starting to work on that. Starting today, actually, was the first repair group out there. As Deb Bumpus mentioned, I just want to remind folks that the forest is still closed. It's under 2 closure orders, one for the fire area and one for the entire forest. Expect around Tuesday to hear some more news on that larger entire forest closure. We're analyzing it all the time and evaluating it, and we'll have some new updates on Tuesday for you with that. And with that, I just want to, again, thank you for joining us and have a good evening.
Thank you so much for that, Ann. Before we have our closing comments from our incident commander, I do want to remind everyone that we do post this on Facebook, both the PLUMAS and LASSEN National Forest pages, NCWeb's story map, and we also have included a YouTube page. So if you missed part of it, it will be recorded for you and we'll have that available to you. Also, we will be looking to look at the when we have our next community meeting, so please check the postings on all of those social media sites and we'll get back to you when we'll have our next meeting. For our closing comments, we're going to have California Incident Management Team 1 Incident Commander Jerry McGowan.
Good evening. My name is Jerry McGowan. I'm the Incident Commander for California Incident Management Team 1 and also the East Zone Incident Commander. And obviously, when you have the East, you have the West, and the West, there's a team up there and up by Susanville. So, and they're in the midst of a transition now, as it was stated by the operations chief on the CAL FIRE Team 1. And so another team is coming in. We're going to be working in joint with them, as we have with the CAL FIRE Team 1. As stated, the fire is currently 960,335 acres, and at 67% contained. And that, when we say contained and people are talking about the black line, that is where we have high confidence that the fire has minimal escape. It would be hard for it to escape there. Doesn't mean it won't, but it means it's going to give us a higher probability it won't. There's a total of personnel. There's 4,334 personnel on the fire assigned to this fire, both on the east and west. So this is our second tour. This is the second tour of our team coming in. We were here from August 15th to August 29th, and then we came back on September 9th. That's an advantage to us, because we know the area and we know many of the people and our cooperators and all the people that we've been worked with, so we don't have to learn new faces and all that kinds of stuff. We have an advantage there. So on this one, we we can just go to work a little bit faster. And with that, we also had, as we came in here, a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of rain, which definitely helped keep this keep the fire in, at least in the east side, into a pretty much of a footprint there, as well as the previous team, the Great Basin team, bringing it to where it is now. So my expectation is that we hold it into this footprint. And as I said, with the rain and all that, there is some few concerns. The one area is over there in the Devil's Punch Bowl that we've been working, and I flew this fire today. And when I looked at that, I realized how steep that area is. It's almost vertical in many cases, and you look down there and you see crew. You see people working down there, and that's pretty impressive. They're working that hard. They have some hose lays coming down and up, and they're working this and trying to check this out. And it's a very I can't express how steep that is there. I did fly around the whole fire, and there is some areas where it burned fairly severe, and then there's also kind of a mosaic. And when I say a mosaic, it was more going underneath the trees and not taking out all the trees, and that to me is a good thing. But there was quite a bit of fire there, as everybody knows. And with that all being said, also with the focus of this thing, as my operations chief was talking about, is getting this thing farther and farther into the black line to where we get more and more confident as we go along here and holding this fire in its footprint. We're switching and transitioning as early as today, as the agency administrator stated, to working on repair of the fire lines. And as Ann was saying, there's that many miles of fire line that we got to go back and put water bars in, spread out some of the berms and all those kinds of things, so that getting ready for the winter and making sure that we don't have major flooding and all that. So we try to impede that as much as we can with the crews and the resources and equipment we have. With that all being said, the crews, pretty much from the last time I'm here to this time, are in pretty good spirits. Like I said, there's quite a few people that are working on this fire. I believe the cooperators are in pretty good spirits. Some are tired, but all in all, I think everybody's doing good, and they're ready for this thing. As you see around here, that the air is a lot clearer than the last time I was here, so things are getting better. And with that, I would like to thank you, and we'll keep on working here.
Thank you so much for that. With that will conclude our evening community meeting, and we will post when our next community meeting is. If you do have questions, please continue to put them in the chat. We'll take care to answer those through the evening. So even though we will close this out for this evening, we will continue to get those. Feel free also to reach out to us through our phone or email, and all of those are available to you off of NCWeb, and you can search for the Dixie Fire. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.